So we have a way to deploy serverless JavaScript applications and all the sorts of usual JavaScript stuff you want to do with our platform, Cloudflare Workers. But in the last year and a half or so, we've been moving into the AI space. And the most recent culmination of this is our AI agents framework. So I'm going to show you that today. I'm going to go first. I want you to check out these docs that we have. This is not just us spending thousands of words trying to tell you to use our specific stuff. There's a lot of other interesting sort of high-level workflow things. For instance, how do you build human in the loop? How do you integrate with RAG applications? How do you do all sorts of interesting, complex AI stuff on Cloudflare, but not necessarily like 100% within our stack. So if you're using GPT or Claude or Gemini or whatever you may be using, there's a lot of really interesting information here to get up and running with. Today what I'm going to be showing you is our agent SDK, which is what I've been talking about. And this code I'm going to be showing you is almost identical to what gets output when you run this command. I'll make it a little bit bigger. So it's our agent starter. And I'm going to show you all of what that does, and then we'll go and look at some other resources here. So I put it in a private tab here, so no trickery, there's no fancy state saving going on. This is like totally fresh. So the AI agent framework and the starter are basically two things combined. One is this AI chat interface, which at this point I think we can all agree is like not particularly exciting or interesting. Like everyone has seen a chat interface. I'm also going to try and type one-handed here, which is going to be interesting. So we have the basic stuff here. What tools do you have? I also type in Colmac, by the way, so me looking down at the keyboard does not actually help me type one-handed, so it's pretty cool stuff. So the tools available here, how many people have built an AI app and given it tools to use? Okay, so a lot of people know this. This is not super exciting or interesting, honestly, at this point. But the tools that are supported here, so like get weather information, get local time, okay, those are kind of trivial. The interesting stuff is when we come down here, so scheduling tasks and multi-tool use. We're not actually going to cover this one today. It's kind of self-explanatory. It can go and execute multiple tools simultaneously. But the schedule task one here is actually really interesting. This is not just an AI chat UI, like we've seen a million of those. There is a full agent framework under the hood here that is coordinating state between the client and the server. So right now I'm running this locally, but you can deploy it to production. Everyone that connects to this is going to get their own unique connection, which is like a session basically, and their state is going to be persisted inside of a SQLite database and then pulled up automatically. This is all API supported too, so if you don't want to do it in the UI, you want to connect it to whatever your app is, you can do that as well, all under the hood with API endpoints. So that's kind of the first thing here. I mean, this is like table stakes, but I refresh the page, it shows up. Ooh, yeah, okay. So the other thing here that's cool is task scheduling. So I'll just say, let's say get weather. Okay, I'm gonna put the mic down, hold on, I can't type one-handed. Get weather in Austin, and we'll say that's in 1 minute. Thank you, get weather in Austin. Okay, thank you so much, no, I appreciate it, that was very helpful. So what we're doing under the hood here is we actually have a full durable scheduling thing inside of the agents framework. So whether it's in 1 minute or it's in like 3 hours, I've essentially queued up whatever thing I want this to do, whatever tool I want it to run, and it's going to come back here in 1 minute or whatever, 45 seconds at this point. So that's kind of the first interesting thing. And what I want to show you when it runs, let me keep talking until I should have said like in 30 seconds, because I didn't need a minute to talk, is this idea of human in the loop. Has anyone kind of familiarized themselves with that term? Okay, well, I'll explain it. So a lot of tool calling that you've seen is like the AI agent goes out and just does stuff, and you don't really have a lot of control over it. And that's fine when it's doing things like going and scraping a page. Like, okay, you can go and scrape that page, I don't really care. But what happens if I'm like, hey, here's a tool to go update. Oh, dead battery, okay. That's why we have a backup. Test, oh yeah, there we go. And I don't know where the batteries are either, so I'm not a very good host. So basically, where was I? So when we have tools that aren't really important, like they're read-only tools, it's like, who cares? Okay, go out and do that, I don't really care. Well, what happens if the tool is like, write SQL to my business database? That's a little bit different, right? Oh, what happened here? Am I glitched? What do you mean the scheduled message is set to retrieve from 1 minute? Okay, well that's okay. I'll just try it and do it right now. Get weather. That was my big demo. So I was going to show you human in the loop, but it doesn't need me anymore, I guess. Get weather in Austin. Okay, here we go. So this is our implementation, at least on the UI side of human in the loop. There is a whole sort of corresponding backend side to this as well. But it's this idea that this framework also gives you the ability to define certain tools as requiring confirmation. So in that example I just gave you, like obviously weather is maybe not a great example of this, but it works as a demo. Well, let's say I'm like, hey, go write this SQL into my database, and like, we wouldn't want it to just do that. We all know that LLMs can kind of make shit up sometimes. What we want to do is have this human in the loop style interaction where it comes back to us and says, this is the tool I'm about to call, it's get weather information, and these are the arguments that I'm going to use. So in this case, I'll say approve. Right now it's hard-coded to say the weather in Austin is sunny, which is mostly true most of the time, unless you were here like 2 weeks ago, but it's mostly true. So that's kind of the human in the loop component of this. So I don't think I have time really to show you how to add a new tool, but I'll literally just show you the code so you can at least understand how it works. So this is an example, it's I think readable. This is an example of an agent. So this is all written in TypeScript. It's like super typed. Honestly, a little beyond my TypeScript ability, so it's probably a good thing because it makes me write better code, or realistically, it makes Claude write better code. But this is basically what it looks like to define an agent. So we have all these hooks built in. For instance, what happens when someone sends a new message to the agent? Well, we have the ability to set up the streaming response. We can run it inside of this agent context, which means that we can get all the past messages. We can get an environment that's been set up. So if you have any SDKs set up, you need API keys or anything like that. That all runs inside of this agent context. And then we return it back using a streaming response. By the way, in this case, we're actually using OpenAI. So it's using GPT-4o. You can obviously switch this out with whatever you want. If you're using Claude, like I usually do, you can swap it out there. And it's using Vercel's AI SDK under the hood as well. So that's where we get all those nice text streaming responses and all of the nice functions that framework provides. So the last thing I'll show you, I think I'm probably almost out of time, right? Yeah, okay, I'll be fast. I'll show you what it looks like to define a tool, and I'll just kind of give you conceptually what it would look like to add something new. Has anyone used Firecrawl before? Anyone familiar with that? So it's basically a web scraper tool for LLMs. And in this example, we're just going to look at kind of what it looks like to define that. So this is an example of a tool. This one's called Get Top News. This description here is a string that kind of indicates to the LLM how it should work. So get the top news from a given source. It has parameters, in this case just a source, which is a string. And importantly here, we do this thing called omitting the execute function. So this is like, how does the tool actually work? You know, this is where we do the real stuff, right? And to give you an example of a tool that has an execute function here, this get local time, actually this is hard-coded for 10 a.m. right now. But this is what it looks like to define that. If we want to define a tool that requires human confirmation, that's that human in the loop element, we come down here into this execution section, and we define an explicit execution that gets passed to the LLM, which indicates that it should try and get human confirmation before it runs that. So all this is commented out right now, but it essentially goes and makes a Firecrawl API request. So that is the kind of the code aspect of it. If you want to check out this framework, it's github.com/cloudflare/agents. It is very heavily in development. Like I said, we shipped the first version of it, I think on February 25th. So it's super new. Kind of the stuff we're thinking about right now is some of the stuff I mentioned, persistent state and memory, real-time communication. And there's a couple things here that honestly in the length of this talk I couldn't really get into. Things like when you deploy this agent framework, it's getting deployed to all of Cloudflare servers across the network. So it's actually operating across the entire world by default. So you're going to be able to get really low latency performance with your agents. They're not going to be constrained to one place. They're going to go wherever your users are, essentially. And in terms of project status, I kind of showed you some of the basic stuff. We didn't look at the HTTP endpoints, but we've seen the React stuff, WebSocket communication, like that was all over WebSockets and streaming. And then we have more stuff coming soon, integrations here, which you can check out with things like emails, eval frameworks, advanced memory systems, all kinds of other stuff. If you don't remember any of this, we have a YouTube channel called Cloudflare Developers. Everything I just showed you is going to be our Agents 101 tutorial that I recorded 4.5 hours ago. So it's literally, you got the Kristian figure out all the bugs, and so this is like the tutorial. If you want to go ahead and subscribe to this channel, in like 2 weeks, you will see me doing all of this again, but better explained. So thank you so much.